We're just a few hours removed from the spring game for Ball State football. Colin from Ball State Football Talk was there. He saw it live. He's going to break it all down for us right now.
We're talking Ball State, Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State, Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower and Worthen, Fans Oliver from Muncie to Berlin, getting Cannons, Carters and Greeks.
All right, it is Sunday, April 13th. You can see here in the Ball State of the Union studio, we have a little bit of a different view today. When we film during the daytime, I have a window right by my desk. So it's a little tough to do my normal setup. So we got a little alternate angle for you. Colin from Ball State Football Talk is here with us. Colin, I know you had a big day at the spring game yesterday. Before we get all into that, though, how we doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Thanks to the Ball State community for letting Ball State football come down there and bring some cans and support the Muncie mission. It was a great day, and I'm excited to tell everybody what we saw.
Perfect. Now, before we get into that, I want everyone, if you're watching this video, like the video, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe to Ball State of the Union on YouTube. Don't know how to do that? I'll show you right now. Here's what you're going to do. Okay? Stay with me, Colin. If you haven't done this yet, here's what I want you to do. You're going to go to the Ball State of the Union YouTube page, youtube.com/at Ball State of the Union. And all you have to do right here, boom, hit subscribe. It's that easy. Now you've helped out the channel quite a bit. You're going to get this video out to more people. We're going to be able to have, bigger numbers, a bigger fan base out there. So it's pretty simple. And if for some reason you're saying to yourself, okay, well, hey, I like to listen to this show on Spotify. Well, guess what? We're going to have you do the same exact thing on Spotify. Be sure to like the show. Be sure to leave comments down below. And if you haven't followed the show yet, here's what you do. Again, boom, it's super easy. It takes you like 1 second to do. Go on the Spotify page and just hit that follow button right there. Again, it's going to build those numbers for us, and we're going to be able to get this show out to a lot more people. A lot more people are going to be able to hear about Ball State of the Union and our thoughts and comments, because that's what everyone's here to hear, to find, is they want to know what we think about what's going on with Ball State football and Ball State in general. So one more thing, stick around for the end of the show, actually, because Colin has some merch he wants to show you guys. And I believe it is live and available to be ordered right now. Colin, is that correct?
It is. It's up. It's up. I'm excited to show it to you guys. We'll talk about it soon.
Perfect. Yeah. So stick around for the end of the show. We don't just want you we'd love for you to come here and buy the merch, but we want you to stay around, enjoy the content, and then you'll see the merch at the end of the show. So, Colin, without further ado, unless you have anything else housekeeping wise you want to get to, we can dive right into yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you telling everybody subscribe and like, I just want to, add on to that. I drove down 2.5 hours to go and see the spring game. So please like, subscribe. It means a lot, for what we do here. We want to give you the best coverage possible. And, that shows that people are really watching. Now, in terms of the spring game, John, I wanted to give a lot more content for this. I actually went down there with a big camera. I had a mic. We were ready to, do some not on-field things, but you could stand right next to the field, get some shots in. And then even if I wasn't able to get an interview with somebody, I wanted to, maybe like just have like a B-roll and then maybe give my thoughts over that.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, when we walked in, we brought, 7 cans. We brought 3 cans of tuna, 2 of fruit, 2 things of chicken noodle soup for the Muncie mission. When we go in, they take the cans and they tell us no cameras, 4-inch lens or longer, which is kind of strange. I mean, I don't know the 4-inch rule, but what it made me think was they're worried about people, catching stuff or like recording things and then sending it to maybe Bowling Green, sending it to Ohio, sending it to Miami, Ohio. Listen, this is Ball State football talk. If I record anything of value, I'm not showing it to anybody. Like, we need a little bit of trust from Ball State to like let us come in with the camera. Because really, at that point, once they told me I couldn't bring the camera, I had a tripod, bro. I was ready to go. We ended up just taking notes. I brought in a clipboard. I brought my own roster. I made some highlights from people to look out for. And I still will say it was successful. We met a couple people, but I think they should reconsider that because I mean, say 10 years ago you came in there with a camera, they're really going to stop you. Like I think it's this new hubbub of they don't want the wrong things getting out, or they don't want whoever to know like, okay, Eric Weatherly Jr. is that guy, or whoever, they don't want them to steal players. So yeah, that was really disappointing. So I apologize to the followers and the fans that we didn't get any video recordings there. That was what I was set out to do. But I still think I have a lot of good information for the people.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I mean, there's probably avenues we can go down in the future where you can probably get that type of stuff in. You probably have to get some certain clearances beforehand. I'm sure they
Mhm.
have their reasons, for why that would be. But yeah, I mean, it's no big deal at the end of the day. We can kind of just go over it here with everything you saw. I
Definitely.
guess. I guess we can dive right in. I mean, the big thing we were talking about on the last show, kind of previewing what we were looking forward to, obviously, and everyone's out there is going to want to know is this quarterback situation with Kyle Kelly and whoever else may be potentially looking into getting that starting quarterback job. So, Colin, what did you see out of the quarterback room and Kyle Kelly specifically?
Yeah, I saw, we saw all five, I think, of the quarterbacks that there were, but starting off with Kyle Kelly, he looks a lot sharper, a lot more accurate. He was throwing the ball pretty nice. It was tight spirals. The ball looked considerably better coming out of his hand than it did potentially the QB2. He was a lot faster than guys. He moves really quick. Obviously, I mean, Cardinal fans will know this from a couple years ago, but he really has that RPO uh, down. He was making a lot of good throws, and actually, he ended the whole spring showcase with a kind of escape from the pocket under defensive line pressure, and then threw a ball that ended up making a touchdown. It was probably one of the best plays of the day, and we'll go into that like our plays of the day. But he looked a lot more accurate because I know some people thought accuracy might be Kyle Kelly's problem, and it might have been in the past. But from what I saw, it looks like he's improved a lot. It looks like he's been working. And there's always been this sort of underlying thing in the fan base, like, you know, some people think Kyle Kelly can't throw it for whatever reasons. Maybe because he's such a adept runner. But I really do think he's going to surprise some people, especially with the weapons we've got on wide receiver now. He was throwing good balls out there, John.
Okay. Yeah, and in any types of preseason stuff like this, the offense is generally going to be a little bit ahead of the defense. Just kind of how this goes. You see it in the NFL all the time. But my thought on that always is when people kind of come back with that response is like, all right, is the offense further ahead of the defense? Yes. So I would want them make sure that the offense is looking good. So for some reason that wasn't looking that way, that would be a big red flag, I think personally. So it's good to hear, because quarterback is obviously the position that makes everything run. So it's good to hear that you liked what you saw out of him yesterday. So yeah, did you see much? Like obviously, everyone probably got reps yesterday. Did you notice anything about any of the other quarterbacks? I know um, we were talking on the last show. Did we get like a size comparison between Kyle and the backup? And I know they're kind of a similar type player, but he seems like he's a big guy. So were you able to see them kind of standing right next to each other ever? I was kind of curious about what that might have looked like.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Walter Taylor is a giant. Like, he looks bigger than everybody else. He's 6'5", 234. When he's
Mhm.
standing next to Kyle Kelly, it looks like there's another helmet of height on top of Walter Taylor compared to Kyle Kelly. Now, in terms of throwing the ball, Walter Taylor had a couple touchdowns. I thought he looked solid too. But everything just looked slightly worse than Kyle Kelly, to the point where I didn't think that he would legitimately have a chance of challenging Kyle Kelly for the starting position.
Mhm.
But I was still I still feel comfortable knowing if Kyle Kelly does go down, Walter Taylor can come in. He's a big guy. He's got a nice arm. The ball's not quite as tight. Like sometimes it has a little bit of a little bit of a duck look. Not really. He's not throwing ducks out there, but sometimes it's not, the spiral's not as tight, right?
Okay.
And he's not as fast in the pocket. Escapability is not so much there in comparison to Kyle Kelly, but he still looked good. He still, to me, was definitely QB2, but I think he's more closer in that range with, the QB2, QB3, closer to those players than Kyle Kelly. There was a significant gap for me personally when watching. I'm telling you, Kyle Kelly's throwing it. The runner's going towards the end zone. He's dropping it in a bucket where only that player could get it. There was a huge chemistry. There was chemistry between Kyle Kelly and some of the wide receivers today. Let me just say. Um, so Walter Taylor looks good. He looks solid. If Kyle Kelly gets injured and it's like Walter Taylor's coming in, you're not thinking in your head like, oh, we're screwed. It should be, you know what? He's got a couple more advantages to him than maybe Kyle Kelly does, like strength, size. I'm sure they'll still run some RPO, but he's not going to be as fast. The escapability, the pocket presence, the maneuvering in the pocket, like that play I was talking about, Kyle Kelly escaping and throwing a touchdown. We might not have those explosive plays, but Walter Taylor is undoubtedly, he's going to be a good backup. So I was impressed by that. I think our QB3, this is a deep dive here for the Cardinal fans that really
Okay.
care. QB3 to me was Aiden Leffler, number 15, 6'1", redshirt junior. He looked pretty good. I liked what I saw from him. He had a good throwing form. There were two other quarterbacks, and I did have information on them. One of them in particular, though, Chase Harrison. I think he's probably QB4, QB3, however you layer the last two. I found him to be, let's see here. He looks pretty good. But our Bodie Darer has such a strange throwing motion. He's bringing it all around. Like there was one QB when we were watching that his throwing motion just looked like it's gonna hurt his arm or like he needs somebody to correct it. A
Hmm.
strange throwing motion from our possible QB5 Brody Darer. I know not a lot of people care about that, but that's a deep cut. QB4 is probably Chase Harrison, the transfer from Marshall. He looked pretty solid too. The QB3, Aiden Leffler and Chase Harrison, I think they're both closer to Walter Taylor than Walter Taylor is to Kyle Kelly.
Okay.
But I still thought, I would be fine with either of these guys. Like, say Kyle Kelly goes down and they have to come in. They're not going to be much of a scrambler look, but they still had good throws, and I was pretty impressed
Okay.
in general.
Perfect. All right. A little bit ago, you were mentioning Kyle Kelly and kind of his connection he had with some wide receivers, and some of the discourse I saw online yesterday. A lot of people were talking about Eric Weatherly and being impressed by him. So, kind of maybe go into what you saw at Eric Weatherly. I know he's a transfer in, so it's our first chance really getting to see him, and maybe some other wide receivers because wide receiver was really a strong point for Ball State football last year. And obviously, with the coaching change, we did retain the wide receivers coach. So, to kind of give us an idea on Eric Weatherly and the wide receiver room in general, what you saw.
Listen, I was down there and John sent me a text. How are we looking? The first thing I sent to John was Eric Weatherly is the real deal in caps.
Hmm.
He's going to be a star, John. Not just like a reliable safety blanket. Oh crap, he's somewhere down there. He's going to make it happen. Dude, he's small, he's shifty, he's fast, but he makes a lot of space. He's a good route runner. Bro, he's dangerous. There was so many plays where the most impressive plays Kyle Kelly was throwing it, like getting catches and stuff, was to Eric Weatherly. When they broke apart into different groups for the showcase, who was standing next to each other? Kyle Kelly and Eric Weatherly. Now, Keon Magwood wasn't practicing, and Ty Robinson wasn't practicing. He's apparently still experiencing maybe some discomfort, or his injury is still ongoing from last year. So he wasn't practicing just yet. So that shows, we have two solidified wide receivers that last year really did something for us when healthy. Now, yesterday was mostly to show um, these are the new guys, right? So we got to see Eric Weatherly, who is an absolute stud. He's going to be nasty. But J Mac, I really liked his route running. Jamarian McDougal, he's the new transfer from Butler. He didn't have too many grabs, but there was a couple like holding calls on the defense while they were trying to guard him.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he can make space. He's pretty shifty. I like how he looks like coming in and out of his like breaks, or his route running was pretty solid. So I thought he looked really good. Um, in general, there was Patel. Patel was another one who maybe he didn't have a ton of grabs, but he looked really solid too. I think he was with us last year. Um, let me see here. Daya Patel, number 82, 6'1", redshirt junior, had a lot of flashes. He was a good route runner. I thought he impressed. He definitely impressed.
Okay. Before we go, I know we kind of have like a general outline of the show here.
Mhm.
Before I kind of jump into the next point, while we're talking about wide receivers, I wanted to go to a similar position. I didn't see anywhere on our outline, but in the tight end room. Obviously, we've had some good tight ends over the year. Obviously, having the last couple of years having Brady Hunt and then having Tanner Koziel the last year and the year before that. Very good players. Huge hole that we're going to have to fill. Did you notice anything from the tight ends? Kind of just off the rip, I didn't see anything on our outline, so that tells me maybe not, but maybe we did. What did we notice anything about the tight ends?
I did. That's a great question. Christian Abney, who played for us last year, it's his time to be the starter. He's waited behind those stars that we had previously, and he looked big. He looked strong. He looked fast. I like Christian Abney a lot. He had, I think, maybe one or two drops, but he also had a couple catches. I like Christian Abney. He looked good. Definitely not going to be a weak spot for us. He's solid. He's very solid. He's going to be our starter.
Okay. So we're talking about the team from last year. Obviously, news came out sometime this week, I believe. Looked like Braden Sloan was at the Colts kind of local pro day. So that hole at running back one is open right now. We have a couple people coming in that might be competing for that spot. While we're on the offensive side of the ball, what do we see at running back?
Yeah, running back is going to be running back by committee this year.
Okay.
Our starter will be Quay Ashley. And while we didn't really see any flashes, I didn't necessarily see any flashes. Maybe I missed him. He didn't look like he had like a ton of. They weren't like putting a ton of like tread on his tires.
Let me
He
before you
was
go
coming in and out.
before you go any further, let me ask you a question. Were they tackling yesterday?
No, it was all thuds. It
Okay,
was all thuds.
Getting an idea for running back with that is going to be a little difficult. So okay, all right.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. Okay, so go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's a great point. But there were people that shined, even with just like, the thudding.
Right.
TJ Horton. TJ Horton looked pretty good. And Elijah Jackson. That's gonna be the one that everybody's coming out talking about after, because I believe Elijah Jackson is out of Purdue, who we
Oh,
played
okay. Yeah,
week
I remember
one.
him.
He's pretty small, but he's got a great
Mhm.
burst. He's got
Yeah.
a great burst. He's fast.
Wasn't he like he was like a state champion in 100-meter in high school or something like that?
I think
Yeah, I
so.
remember him being pretty fast.
TJ Horton too, he impressed me. He had a lot of good energy. I was seeing him fired up on the sidelines, yelling at people. Um, I could see him being the backup running back too. I mean, it's going to be Elijah Jackson and TJ Horton. I think get going in here and there. Of course, Charlie Spiegel didn't play. He's more of like, I think, short down and distance kind of deal. But uh, yeah, I thought the running back room looked pretty good as well. It is going to be more by committee. Even if you look at Quay Ashley's stats from last year, I don't think he was like a 1,000-yard rusher. So I think you put in Quay Ashley on first down, maybe second down, put in a third down back, or maybe Quay Ashley's our third down back, and we have two other guys that rotate earlier.
Hmm. I mean, even last year, even with Braden Sloan, they would still run a lot of guys out there, it seemed like, throughout the year.
Mhm.
So that seems fine to me. All right, you got on here. You got 2 plays of the day. I'm interested to hear what these are. Obviously, we won't theoretically be able to see them, but you can kind of
Yeah,
walk us through it. Paint us a picture. Obviously, the Masters is going on right now. Give us your best. Who is a Jim
definitely.
Nance, and walk us through. Paint the
Sure.
picture for us.
So while this was happening, the showcase, there's two things going on two sides of the field. So on one side of the field is the linemen's doing individual drills against each other. And on the other side of the field is 7-on-7s happening at the same time.
Okay.
One of the most impressive things I saw all day was from Michael Thacker, who hasn't been talked about enough. On the defensive line, absolutely bulldozes somebody, just a straight bull rush, and pushes him on the ground and then goes over him. Like the crowd literally was like, whoa.
Mhm.
No, it was huge. That was promising because defensive line has been a weakness for Ball State. And surprisingly, my surprise player of the day was from the defense. And it's somebody nobody's been talking about, John.
Okay.
Even after I saw like the great article from Elijah Poe, I saw Sidelines having some good takes about it with some similar people that I thought were good. But nobody has been talking about this player from the defense, who was my surprise player of the day. So it was cool to see some people on the defense get a little bit of shine. There was 3 specifically, but Michael Thacker for me had one of the plays of the day in the individual drills, just absolutely bulldozing someone, steamrolling someone. I didn't even get the number of the other guy. It happened so fast, John. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
be good. He's gonna
Okay.
be good. I
Great.
think this kid is a freshman. This kid is a freshman. So finally, my other play of the game, and I touched on it a little bit, was the escaping of the pocket by Kyle Kelly. Last play of the game, an absolute laser, a dime, straight to no other than Eric Weatherly at the end of the game. Escapes, tosses him a ball. This Eric Weatherly kid is nasty, John. He is nasty.
I
Like,
love
I
it.
don't know that we had Cam Pickett last year. We had who was the kid that went? Justin Baug Jr. to Illinois.
Hmm.
We had some Ty Robinson. Dude, nobody's like this. Nobody has been like this. This is a new. We're seeing something different here. I'm excited for it because it's finally like some star power, like a real weapon for Kyle Kelly. I know Tanner Kozio, he's a real weapon too, but this is completely different.
Sweet. I'd love to hear
This is
that.
completely different. So I'm super excited to see that, and I'm hoping I'm not doing what Ball State's so scared of, where it's like, we don't want people to go to the spring game because then they know who our best player is. Okay, if God forbid Notre Dame is watching, Eric Weatherly is that kid that they want to steal. I'm telling you, he's sick. He's
Perfect.
very it's amazing.
Um, Before we go on to your surprise player of the day looking at the defense a little bit, you're talking about those one-on-one kind of type drills between the O line and D line. I was curious about the offensive line. One person in particular, and that's the transfer in from Butler, Adam Dolan. He's a huge guy. So I didn't know if his size just kind of stood out. If he was like looked much bigger than everyone else. If you stood out and you noticed him, I know he's like a 3-time all conference player at Butler. I think his left tackle. It's like 6'8", 300 something pounds, big, huge guy. So I didn't know if him or anyone on the offensive line kind of stood out in those drills. Again, one-on-one drills, it's kind of hard to really make out what you're seeing really in those, I think, but just curious if you were watching them much in what you saw.
I was watching the O line as best I could. As a slight Bears fan, I understand how important the O line is to a successful offense. Now, you asked about Adam Dolan, that transfer from Butler.
Hmm.
I actually didn't see him
Okay.
field yesterday. I didn't see him, but there is one guy that stands out size wise. When you can look at the whole crowd of people, and there's one guy who's standing above everybody, and it's number 66, Chris Hood.
Okay.
6'10,
Oh, wow.
321 pounds. This
Damn.
guy is huge. This guy is huge. He looked pretty good. It looks like he's starting. I think the offensive line in general could use a little bit more time to gel. It did look like the defensive line might have been better than the offensive line at this point. Now, maybe they know like our snap count, they know the plays we run, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Kyle Kelly was under a lot of pressure. Sometimes he even took sacks. He didn't throw any picks yesterday, but sometimes he even took sacks to the defense from that defensive line. So I don't know really who stood out as like maybe the weak link of the offensive line. It's going to take me more time than just, the practice that I saw yesterday. But
Yeah.
I can tell you I did see um, Chris Hood was starting. Tristan Cook was starting. Cole Mosier was starting. Zach Brandy was starting. These guys are 6'6", 6'5", 6'4". We had some big boys on the line, and then interestingly enough, we had a guy that was 6'8" that was on crutches. Yasser Al Awadi, 6'8", 296, transferred from Western Illinois. He was on
Mm-hmm.
crutches and had a boot on. So potentially he could be another person that is maybe a starter later that just wasn't starting now. Same with Adam Dolan. So I'm not sure if all of our starters were in, but there were some dogs on that defensive line, and we haven't really seen that. Like, because last year, I don't even know how many sacks we had, but I think Riley Tolsma might have been our leader in sacks. We didn't have a ton of pressures. And it
Mm-hmm.
looks like this year we had some guys that were fired up. They were making plays. They were yelling. They were letting it be known, like, I'm here. I'm making plays. So I think the defensive line, while I saw some people saying, the offense looks better than the defense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. I agree. But the defensive line looked better than the offensive line for sure.
Okay. All right. So is Michael Thacker, was that your surprise player of the day, or was there somebody else?
No, no,
Okay.
he was not. He was
Okay.
not.
All right.
But
Surprise player of the day. Hit me with it.
nobody's talking about this guy, John. I need to hype this up. I'm
Okay.
looking at all this. I'm looking at all the articles. I'm typing in Ball State spring game. I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. Like nobody's talking about this guy at all. Not even sidelines. My guy sidelines.
All right. Before you say the name,
Surprise.
before you say the name, if you're listening right now and you're at the spring game or you watch the spring game or you pay attention, put it in the comments below who you think the surprise player of the day is about to be. I have no idea who it's going to be, but I'm curious to see some answers. So pause the video, write in below, put the comment below who you think this is, and now who is it?
Surprise player of the day, Leighton Starks,
Okay.
outside linebacker. Listen, I had no idea who this guy was. I had no idea who this guy was, but he was popping up, making plays. He was the guy that was yelling, like letting people know, I'm here. I'm here. So I wrote down a lot for him. So one of my favorite players on the O line, I reached out to him. I DM'd him a little bit just because I wanted to hype him up. Like, we need you. We go as far as you take us this year. It's Chris Hood, 6'10, 321. Leighton Starks, I wrote down number one player on defense yesterday. I wrote down cooked Chris Hood. There must have been some he lined up against Chris Hood, cooked him. Looks like he's starting. Saw him all over the field. Looks very dominant. He's a redshirt freshman, 6'4", outside linebacker, 226. We're going to know the name. We're going to know the name because it was him, and then it was number 44. So Leighton Starks is 42. Look out for him. Number 44, Nathan Voorhees. Looks like a transfer out of Bryant and Yukon. Looked incredible in the 11 versus 11 offense versus defense. It was him and it was Leighton Starks that were always in the backfield doing something. That was really exciting to see for me. That was really, really exciting. Another guy on the defense. Now he's not my surprise player of the game. I had one, Leighton Starks, but Xavier Simpson. Xavier Simpson, a name a lot of Ball State fans might not recognize, transfer out of Wake Forest, a linebacker as well. We're already really deep at linebacker. I mean, remember, we've got redshirt senior Jack Beebe, redshirt senior Joey Stemler, redshirt senior Jackson Weigold. So we're super deep at the linebacker position. But Xavier Simpson, he was flying around too. I was really impressed by him as well.
Okay, I like it. All right, we'll stay. We're talking a little more defense now. We'll stay on the
Mhm.
defense side of the ball here. We had a
Okay.
lot of guys out, leave from that defensive backfield. Some big time players for us going to some big time schools.
Mm.
You're telling me you think it's pretty deep now. So go into the defensive backs for me real quick and let me know what your thoughts are on them.
Yeah, definitely. We are deep at defensive back now. So a lot of guys will remember, a lot of Ball State fans will remember Yates from last year. I believe true freshman was getting some starts at defensive back last year, at least some looks at defensive back. He looked really impressive, especially in individual drills and like when they would just have wide receiver cornerback 1v1.
Mm-hmm.
He looked really good in that. There was John, there were some people that stood out on that defensive back. Another guy, Michael Gravely Jr. He's the defensive back out of Western Michigan, just transferred. I think he's going to be a starter. 6 foot, 192, redshirt senior. He looked really good. I was impressed by him. Roman Pearson, which is not someone I really like thought about before I went there, but Roman Pearson, defensive back, 6'2", great size, out of Bucknell. So here's some positive and some negative that I saw from him. Sometimes he seemed a little stiff when he was, trying to defend, but he's very tall. He moves decently well, other than the stiffness, and I think he might be a starter too. I mean, a 6'2" cornerback. I like that. Um, Now the guy that probably pops when you look at who's transferred in is Avery Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
He was that defensive back out of Kentucky. He looked pretty decent. I was impressed by him as well. A 6'1", another kind of longer cornerback. I think that'll help us. And then there was another defensive back that actually I was impressed as well. We went portal fishing for cornerbacks, and I'm not mad at it. Ashton Whitmer was actually transfer out of Old Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
5'11", 192 redshirt junior. I liked what I saw out of him as well. Um, he looked pretty good. So we also had, I'm pretty sure there was if I remember correctly, we had a slot corner, a different player for slot corner that was possibly starting as well. I can't find it now. And actually, I did write down who Michael Thacker steamrolled, but it wasn't a starting offensive line. That's another thing when you're looking at them practicing. Sometimes it's not 1v1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying it's a starter versus a backup, or a starter versus a third stringer. So it's a little harder to tell. Like, is he just going absolutely nuts right now, or did he is he just playing someone that might be actually coming off the bench?
Yeah.
But when I find oh, I found him. He was starting too, it looks like. So finally, the last defensive back that really stood out to me yesterday was DeAndre Shepard, another transfer
Mm-hmm. You're right.
from Coastal Carolina, and it looked like they had him playing mostly slot corner for whatever reason that is. He's 5'11", 185. Maybe he's a little quicker. But he looked good too. I mean, defensive back. If offensive line is a weakness, defensive back might be a strength.
Okay.
And with that said, Kyle Kelly was still dicing them up.
Looking good. All right. I like that. Um, I'm going to kind of go out. We have our outline here. I'm going to go a little bit out of line here. I want to save what you saw from Coach Uremovich and the coaching staff for last. So you kind of touched on the linebackers a little bit earlier. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add about those guys.
Yeah, just that right now it looks like DB and linebacker on defense are our deepest rooms. So everybody, if you're a Ball State Cardinal fan, you'll know the name Keontae Newsome. Keontae Newsom's right-hand man was Joey Stemler. And honestly, anybody that Keontae Newsom will vouch for, I'm going to vouch for it personally because he knows what he's talking about. So Joey Stemler is going to be our main dog in the linebacker room. Jack Beebe, Jackson Weigold, Caden Smoke Johnson made a couple plays that were really look out for him. Look out. I haven't even talked about Smoke Johnson. Look out for him. He's another linebacker that's going to be flying around making plays. I'm really, 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 really impressed with with the linebacker room. Like that should be maybe even more so than the defensive backs. I think linebacker might be our strong suit.
Okay. I like that. Hey, kickers are people too. Let's go to specialist here. You saying they're looking automatic up to a certain point, and then maybe not as much. So, what'd you see from the kickers yesterday? Because a kicker is a position where you never think about it until they miss. It's always all right. Send them out there. It's going to be automatic. This, that, and the other, and then they miss, and then you're having a bad day. So, what do we got on the kickers?
Well, we have potentially 3 kickers right now. So there was a little bit of a battle going on.
Okay.
But the starter should be Jackson Corville, who was our starter last year, a.k.a. Husky Killer.
That's right.
For all those NIU fans. They were all, kicking to see, like, who's the best kicker, but all the kicks were coming from the 35, which is fine. I mean, 35 is pretty decent kick, but for some reason, for whatever reason, and maybe they didn't, I just didn't see it, but they never moved it back. They never moved it back, John. So now if Jackson Corville is coming up to kick, I know he's probably like a 90% from what I saw. I only saw him miss 1. He was pretty automatic.
Okay.
Now, if they move it back, I'm a little less confident because I haven't seen it. But the length that he did have on his kicks were sufficient for, say, 40, 45. It wasn't like they were just barely, falling through. These are strong kicks that were, going through the middle, higher up, on the actual goalpost, like somewhere in the middle. So he probably had another 10 yards in him, maybe.
Okay.
But it does concern me that for whatever reason they weren't having him practice longer kicks. Maybe the coaches are just like, if it's going to be a 45-yard kick, we don't do it.
Yeah.
Which
could be.
all right, I guess, but you never know what situation you're going to be in. I just brought up NIU, and Notre Dame was in the situation they had to kick a 50-yarder to beat NIU, didn't have the kicker to do it, lost, made NIU's whole year.
Right.
So kickers can make or break or save a season. So I just I like Jackson Corville too. I think he's a good kicker. He's a solid kicker. Carson Homer was another kicker I saw kicking. He looked pretty good. We have a guy on the roster. This is pretty impressive. His name is Brody Boehm. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, Brady. Last name Boehm. Looks like he's not only our backup punter, but our backup kicker. And he hit one from 35 as well. So he was taking the same kicks they had Jackson Corville hitting. And while maybe not as, he didn't have as much leg on it, and even the starting punter appeared to be a smidge better than Brady. Brady still looks solid too. And I like the fact that he can do both things. So that's kind of how it turned out that we had 3 kickers on the roster, because really one guy is half kicker, half punter. But, the more the merrier. And as long as they're hitting their kicks, I only saw maybe 2 missed kicks, and they kicked maybe 10 to 15 kicks in a row. So kickers look pretty solid, which I'm glad to see.
I like that.
You're going to need that.
All right. We're going to look at 2 things here. I want you to tell me, we have listed down what position group you think might be a weak link, or let's say what position group you think might be the weakest, and what position group you might think is the best overall from what you saw yesterday.
Okay. The best, and I'm just saying the best here because I think this is our safest option, is wide receiver. Okay. Because if you ask me who jumped off the field yesterday, it was Eric Weatherly Jr. He was the to me, and I think to most people that were watching closely, he had the most highlight plays, and he's the player I'm most confident in, like going out like he's a star. He's a star. So, and I know we have Ty Robinson there. I know we have Keon Magwood. Uh, Also, Nick Munson looked better than usual too. Patel that we've talked about.
Hmm.
Um, J Mac, Jamarian McDougal, he's going to be good. So the position that I am most confident in to say that's going to be a solid position, plus coaching. Shaq Van's a great coach,
Okay.
plus
Yeah.
coaching. Wide receiver is the position that I'm most confident in. Right after some, a little bit behind there, I'd say linebacker, and then DB. And then I think DB. So those are the three.
Okay.
Now, weakest,
Or
unfortunately,
say, even if not weakest, just maybe coming out of watching the spring game yesterday, maybe the ones you have the most questions about still.
most questions is the offensive line. And
Okay.
like you said, I didn't see Dolan. Uh, Yasir Alawani, who's 6'8", 300 pounds. He's a big boy. He's going to take up some space on that line. Hopefully he's healthy. We can put him in there somewhere next to Chris Hood. Maybe that's 6'10". You get a 6'8", a 6'10 guy, and then Adam Dolan, 6'8 again. Three of those type of guys on the line. That can make a huge difference. But as for what I saw yesterday, the defensive line made a lot of noise. A lot
Hmm.
of noise, and that's generally a weaker area for Ball State football. I mean, we're not really known for having a crazy good defensive line, at least these last couple of years. Um, so, I don't want to say it's going to be super weak. It also, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you're playing the people you
Yeah.
know the snap count, you know what plays they like to run. You know where that lineman's looking because he's thinking about, I got to get to that spot or something. So I still want to hold out hope that the line could be fairly solid. We do have the perfect quarterback for kind of a shaky line, though. Kyle Kelly he'll find some daylight and make things happen. And, it's going to sound sacrilegious. Kyle Kelly's not Shador Sanders, but it kind of reminds me of the sense that Shador didn't have an O-line. His O-line broke down. He would move outside the pocket, find a little space and make his own pocket, like outside of the pocket. Like just finding that stature and that composure, that's what we're going to need from Kyle Kelly. Escape the pocket, get a little bit to the side, make your own pocket. If you're going to throw it or tuck it, run, take the sack. I think Kyle Kelly's smart enough to make the right decision, but I want to see more from the offensive line. I think we might just having more people come back. But right now, as it stands, that's what I have our weakness, our possible weak link right now.
Okay. And for those of you listening out there, let us know down below which position groups are you most excited about this year coming into the year. Maybe you saw the spring game or just things you've been following, and which ones are you maybe not as sure about. Let us know below. I'm interested to see what kind of everyone else is thinking. Now the biggest thing we saw basically the debut of Coach Mike Uremovich yesterday, or Colin, you did. Before you give us our thoughts on that, I had one question about that. Did we run any plays on defense where we had no one on the field like we did last year against Missouri State?
No, we didn't. We
That is
didn't.
an improvement of last year then. Okay, so go into maybe what you saw from Coach Uremovich and his staff in general and just kind of maybe the vibes. Again, it's going to be tough to really get a super good picture because these are all simulated scenarios. There's no organic things going on really to get like kind of a feel for how the coaching might be. But you saw it firsthand yesterday. What'd you notice?
John, I was impressed. I was very impressed. Um, Even just starting at seeing Coach U directly behind Kyle Kelly. He's got his list of plays. He's standing there calling the plays. He's watching it up close. I would even see him sometimes go to the side, get a little like side view of what he's seeing. Um, that was impressive, and it looked like people really listened to him. He commands a lot of respect. I like the plays we're calling. We're using motion, John. Thank God we're using motion. We're doing some end arounds, which sometimes last year that they started to kind of like get on my nerves with the end arounds, like how they were using them
They
incessantly.
were they were very predictable.
So predictable. But here we go again. Who gets the end around? Eric Weatherly Jr. and he's a fast little dude, man. He is fast. I don't want to say little dude because we're the same height, but he's a fast guy. He is a
Mhm.
fast guy. So I like seeing the motion. Sometimes they'll use motion coming across, and they don't even use that guy. Sometimes they use motion coming across, say it was Christian Abney, and then he leaks out to come out for maybe like a 5-yard pass, easy money from Kyle Kelly. Play calling looked good. Play calling looked good. Um, Now a couple moments that stood out for me just coaching wise that I was like, wow, that was really cool. They were doing a 11v11 and another cornerback. I'm telling you, John, the cornerback room is deep. Is deep. Another cornerback that we had that maybe didn't have the best day because they did call, I think, like 1 or 2 flags on him, but a guy that I think will be good in the future is a guy by the name Jordan Suggs, defensive back, number 23. Good size on him, 6'1", 170. Could maybe beef up a little bit, but he's a redshirt freshman. They're gonna add some weight to him. I liked how he moved. This is the coaching moment.
Mhm.
He's pressing somebody, trying to make sure he's using the sidelines pretty much like as you should as a corner, but maybe he was doing a little bit too much on it, and the ref threw a flag. Well, I think he might have been flagged like once before that, so he was a little bit like, like that's not a flag. It was arguable. Well, I saw the defensive back coach run over, basically tell him, chin up. Took him over to the ref and was like, tell him what you saw. You know what I mean? Like, have the ref explain why that was pass interference.
Mhm.
I really liked that. Like, don't let him get down on himself. He's gonna be a good player. He's got promise already. I mean, just watching, I could tell he's gonna be good. So that was the first thing that I saw that was really cool from the coaches. Other than Coach U, like actually standing there, being a GM, not being a GM. I'm sorry, being a play caller. I got Kenny Burns on my mind. I'm sorry. Um, but the last thing I saw that really impressed me from the coaching staff, and we give this guy a lot of credit already, Shaq Van. Um, he was coaching up the wide receivers, and you could hear him. He yells at him. He's like, speed, speed, move, move, move. Well, they were doing 1v1s wide receiver versus corner, and he's the wide receiver coach, okay? Cornerback had a great rep. Like I said, corners super deep this year. Shaq runs out there. I'm thinking he's gonna like talk to the wide receiver. No, he runs up to the corner. He's high fiving. He's like, "Yeah, good rep." You know what I mean? Like getting him hype. It was nice to see that the coaches aren't just coaching their group. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, you made a good play against my guy. I'm gonna give you some credit. I'm gonna give some credit, and we're gonna need that like family dynamic. We're gonna need all the coaching we can because while we have some very talented players, we're gonna need that coaching to put us over the hump of teams that maybe have more talent.
Mhm.
And what I'm seeing so far, it's like there's a very good dynamic. It feels like very family oriented. Everybody's picking up everybody else. Everybody's talking to each other. It's not position groups alone. Defense was talking to offense. They had on different colored jerseys, but you wouldn't even tell. Like when they came over to the sidelines, everybody's together. So I just got a really good vibe from the coaches. I saw a lot of good moments. Um, I was happy to see that.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, and again, there's going to be some lumps and some bumps and some learning curves once they actually are firing through bullets against other teams. But it's nice to see that it seemed like a well organized, well run kind of situation yesterday where there wasn't just looking like a freak show out there and stuff like that, which sometimes you can get with these new coaches and stuff. So that's good. And Coach Uremovich seems like he's pretty experienced. He's had some head coaching positions at different levels, so you would kind of hope to expect that. Someone who has a history of running programs before would have that. So that's a good thing to see. And it seems like a nice, good regimented thing that they went on yesterday. So quickly, do you have any final thoughts from that before we get to our merch that we have?
Yeah, I would say my final thoughts are it seemed pretty promising. There was a good turnout, John. There was a good
Okay.
turnout. I would say they didn't. I don't think they released numbers, but around 1,000 people,
Nice.
maybe around 1,000 people. The bottom stands were pretty full, and then the upper stands, there was a decent amount where I was at. But it was only about half because the other side didn't really have people on it. So but for a spring game, I was pretty impressed. I thought Muncie came out supported. A lot of people brought cans. It's a great thing they're doing for the Muncie mission. It was free to go to. You couldn't have picked a better weather day. John, it was
Nice.
58 degrees and sunny. It was
Nice.
beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a great day. I'm so glad I was out there. I'm honored to go out there and represent Ball State of the Union, Ball State Football Talk, and I appreciate everybody tuning in.
Perfect. If one thing I put it on Twitter earlier this week. If you go back and watch when Colin and I did the video around Christmas time, we did like a wish list thing of things we'd love to see Ball State do. And I said in that video that at the spring game, they should do what's called a surplus sale. So basically any extra gear, old helmets, old jerseys, t-shirts, stuff like that. They should sell that at the spring game. Well, it turns out if Ball State was listening to me, Central Michigan was, because that's exactly what Central Michigan ended up doing this year. And they had a surplus sale at the spring game. You could get jerseys, you could get old helmets, you could get all kinds of stuff. So I think that would be an awesome addition. I'll reiterate that now. Again, you can go back and watch that video. I think it's like the Ball State wish list or something like that around Christmas time that we did it. But I had that idea then. It would be a great addition because, you go to the game, you go buy. I got a couple of helmets and jerseys and stuff in here. You could pick some of those up while you're there. It's a great incentive to get more people to go, get more people to bring cans for the Muncie mission and, different things like that. So I'm happy to hear that it was a good time. That would be my one little critique if they wanted to add something to it next year, making a couple extra bucks on top of it. So I like all that I'm hearing. Before we let you guys go, though, Colin has some merch he wants to show you. So without further
And one more
ado,
thing.
oh, sorry.
John,
go
one
ahead.
more thing before the merch, too.
One more thing. Okay.
You brought up Central Michigan. Central Michigan took the players and the coaches and sent them into the crowd to thank everybody for going.
Oh, I love that. That's great too.
That's crazy. I don't expect that. Ball State doesn't have to do that. But that's an amazing show of thank you for your support. I think Bowling Green's coach, Eddie George, actually went into the crowd and thanked people for coming as well. So, they could maybe consider it, but I don't think it's mandatory, but I thought that was really cool.
It's a cool touch. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Merch. We got 2 pieces of merch here right now. And I think I'm going to help get with Colin. And I think I got some ideas for some other things we can do as well. But here is our first piece. Looks like we have a black hoodie, Ball State of the Union black hoodie. So on the front here, it's our logo that we got, Ball State of the Union, established 2013. On the back side, you got to tell everyone, you got to let everyone out there know that you are indeed a union member. You go onto the YouTube page, you like and subscribe all the videos, you interact with us on Twitter, you watch every week. You are a union member. And if you order this hoodie, I don't believe it comes with this man right here, but you get this hoodie right here. And I believe we have a white version as well. But Colin, kind of go into kind of how you created this and maybe what it's being used for right now.
Yeah, definitely. So this hoodie actually is the Ball State of the Union hoodie. And that comes in any of those colors that you see on the screen. But
Gotcha.
It does look best in black because the Ball State of the Union logo is a black circle. So just keep that in mind. But what I'm super excited with about the Ball State of the Union hoodie is if you purchase this hoodie, $6 and some change of every hoodie goes to a slush fund we're going to use for NIL to hopefully pay a player. So this is the beginning of Ball State of the Union, Ball State Football Talks NIL fund. How you become a member, how you become a union member, buy the hoodie, the place ships it out automatically, and then they send $6 and some change to a slush fund that we will then try to pay players with. Now, this is just the start. Okay, $6 and some change doesn't really sound like a lot. But you get 100 people to buy this. Now I got $600 to go and promise Jamarian McDougal, if he goes and balls out this year, hey, J-Mac, please don't leave us. I know it's not a lot, but I got $600 here for you. Just wear the hoodie, or something. And we do have some people that are interested that are actual former players that played in the NFL, that have NFL experience, that are interested in the NIL, but they want to bring their own company. They want to put money in it straight from their own company. So this is a way for us to start this and get our own grassroots involvement and funding, grassroots funding for an NIL program that's going to go to the player.
Okay. And we'll show, I know Colin sent me a couple of these here. Colin, I think we can also let the people know, and here's kind of the white version of that as well. Again, you can kind of look, it says union member on the back. It's got the logo right there. So it looks pretty good on white as well.
It does.
Oops, sorry. But I think if people are out there listening and you're interested in this, you could also drop below and let us know maybe some other things that you might be interested with, like if you're maybe interested in t-shirts or hats or whatever, and we can easily probably get that stuff made as well. Because like for me, for instance, I know Colin is gracious enough. He has one of these hoodies coming to me here, and I'm very excited to get it. The only issue is I live in South Florida, so I don't really have to wear hoodies that often. So other people might be out there in the same situation as me, or they might be in a position where they're like, "Oh, I would love a T-shirt to wear to the game today, and it's 85 degrees out." Let us know, and we should be able to get some other stuff put on here. Correct? It wouldn't be that difficult to do, right?
Definitely. It's not hard. There is a hat already on there. So there's two
Okay.
hoodies and a hat, but I have already had some people request t-shirts. So
Okay.
I
Perfect. Yeah.
will that's pretty easy to make. I just put the same design on there, front and back, and just swap the clothing type.
And so when someone orders this, Colin, are you notified of the order? How does it work?
I am. I am notified. Every time somebody orders off the Ball State Football Talk shop, it lets me know that an order came in, and then it tells me, "Hey, your $6.42 or whatever it is just is going to come on, a week later or whatnot." So,
Okay.
yeah, it lets me know every time somebody orders one. It goes straight to my email, so that's
All
pretty
right.
cool too.
So here we'll put this out there. If you order something from the shop, it can be this, it can be shirts from again, it can be hats, it can be whatever we put on. If you order something in the shop, Colin's going to make sure he gives you a shout out on the next time we record. Every time you order something. So if you order 50 things, 50 different times, you'll get 50 different shout outs. That's how we're going to do it for
Definitely.
right now. So if you be sure to get on there and find what you're looking for, they got a bunch of sizes. It looks like it goes from small to 5X, so you can be a little guy or the biggest to the big guys. So
Yeah.
if for some reason someone ordered randomly this Ball State Union hoodie in green, I would like to see that as well. That would be interesting. But I think the traditional white and black probably look the best. So get on
Definitely.
there, buy it, help us out. And that money that you're saying, that amount you're giving, is that just kind of like what the quote unquote profit would be from this, and you're just kind of putting that towards the NIL? Did they give you a reason for that amount?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why it's just $6 and some change on that, but
Hmm.
I'm assuming it's because even when you buy the sample hoodies, so when I put these hoodies up on the website, it allowed me to buy them for $35. So I think they naturally cost like $35 for them to make it and ship it. And then the $6 they increase the price so they have a little bit more. They make a little bit of money, and then you make a little bit of money off it. And you really don't have to do anything. You just put the hoodies up there, and people purchase them, and they send them themselves. They just
Okay,
send you the money for it.
perfect.
But
All right. Yeah.
real quick, John, I do want to let the people know there is a Ball State Football Talk hoodie too. It's not necessarily Ball State of the Union, but Ball State Football Talk. It says Ball State in the Ball State font, Football Talk below, and then it's got my logo on the back here. Hopefully, you
There you
guys
go.
can
Oh yeah,
see.
you can kind of see it there, Charlie,
Charlie
with the
Cardinal.
microphone. Okay,
Yep, yep. So that's
cool.
available too, guys. Just so you know, the hats are there too. Anything you need, chirp chirp, go Ball State.
Perfect. Colin, tweet out that link where you can get those hoodies and the hats. I'd like to see that too. But all right,
Well,
everybody. I believe that's it for us today. We're right about at our hour mark here. So be sure again to like and subscribe to the channel on Spotify, on YouTube, everything. Leave comments, interact on Twitter, do whatever you can. Buy the merch now. We can get the NIL fund started. So appreciate everyone's time. Colin, good job. I'm glad you had fun at the spring game yesterday, and we will get back on here and talk soon. So everyone, until then, chirp chirp. We'll catch you guys later.